Is the Michigan House's $500 million check intended to save Detroit public schools or doom the district to failure? We'll talk with Mayor Mike Duggan about the politics of education. And Police Chief James Craig on crime and the so-called street code. Today is Sunday, May 8th, 2016, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. A very happy Mother's Day. Good to have you with us. It was one of those weeks that didn't put Detroit in the best light in the headlines that made their way across the country. Teachers calling in sick for 2 straight days, and water shutoffs resuming on Detroit customers not paying their bills. On one of the network morning shows this week, the morning led off with a reporter here saying basically, so you've heard about the Detroit Renaissance, but this is a city where the basics are still in trouble. Yep, water and school. Pretty basic. As the teachers went back to the classrooms, the school fight moved to Lansing, where the divide between the Senate bill and the House bill is many, many millions of dollars apart. Some, like the Detroit Free Press, suggested the House is just setting up the schools to fail. Well, what is happening here? And what is the best way forward for all of those kids hanging in the balance? Mayor Mike Duggan is here this morning after spending a lot of time in Lansing this week. We're going to talk about it all, from schools to water to demolitions, which are now under federal investigation. We're also going to talk with our Kevin Dietz about a series of reports he's doing on why education is such a tall order in the city's most impoverished neighborhoods. And Police Chief James Craig is here because he says enough is enough. Another busy morning today on Flashpoint. They are all busy weeks when you're the mayor of Detroit, but this one included midnight oil burning in Lansing for Mayor Mike Duggan, who is my guest this morning. Mayor, thank you very much for being here.
Glad to be back.
An interesting week in a lot of different ways, but I guess let's just focus on moving forward. You've got these 2 bills to try and help DPS fashion a future. They are extremely different. Where's your optimism level right now that it's going to get closer to the Senate bill, which you like a lot more than the one that's in the House?
Well, the Senate bill was supported by Republicans and Democrats, by Governor Snyder and by me, by the NAACP and the Greater Detroit Chamber of Commerce. I mean, it was a very thoughtful bill with a lot of work gone into it. And I think it will fundamentally change the quality of education in Detroit. I mean, it gets rid of the deficit the states run up under emergency management. It returns local control, but it actually will drive reform in the classroom by setting a local education commission the way they've done in Washington, D.C., where we will grade every school, we'll expand the successful ones, we'll put the failing ones on probation, and if they don't succeed, shut them down and put a successful operator in there. It got to the House, and any kind of reform was stripped out. It was basically a bill that says, send them $500 million and good luck, knowing full well it's going to fail. This
is the way government works, though. You come up with 2, and you've got to somehow now create a conference committee to put the 2 together. But there's that old line about a mule is what you got when a committee tried to design a horse. How much of what you think is important do you think is left by the time it comes out of whenever?
Well, you're not going to get Democratic votes without reform. Just giving money and control back to DPS in this same environment where 12 schools open and close in a southwest Detroit neighborhood in 18 months, destabilizing every school that's there. As long as that environment's there, DPS doesn't have a chance to succeed. And so what you've seen on both sides is the Democrats are not going to go for a program that doesn't include reform. At least half the Republicans in the Senate won't go for a program that doesn't have reform in the classroom. And I'm hoping Governor Snyder weighs in heavily, because we didn't see him a lot, on the House bill.
On Thursday, Ingrid Jock's piece in the Detroit News made an interesting point. She said, most DPS kids were actually not affected by the strike because more than half the kids now are in charter schools. There are some who believe that what the House in particular wants to do is really create a fully charter system, that eventually we get there. Those are also the same people who argue for local control. Well, when we look at local control, isn't that what parents are telling us? They want charter schools.
Parents in Detroit want choice. That's exactly what they want, and I am 100% pro-school choice. If you look at what succeeded in Washington, D.C., they have 100 public and 100 charter schools, and they're both succeeding. In Detroit, we have 100 public and 100 charter schools, almost exactly the same. Yeah. And we've got some good charters, we've got some good public, we've got some failing charter and failing public. The difference is nobody here is holding the poor performing schools accountable. And so I absolutely believe in choice. The parents of Detroit believe in choice. Even if their kids are in a public school, they want to have options. And what I have proposed, the governor's proposed, and came out of the Senate, is real choice. I want to add transportation options. Yeah. So you'll have 4 or 5 different schools to choose from, even if you're in one of the 1/3 of the households in the city that don't have a car. I want to make choice real for every family in Detroit.
There were a couple things that I guess ended up feeling punitive to the House. The teachers' walkout, which of course is, they're not allowed to strike. It sure looked like a strike to everybody. Also, we see these principals going to jail because of this contracting scheme and scandal. None of that worked out, maybe at least as far as the House worked. I mean, bad timing, right?
Yeah, I don't know how much the principals scandal had to do with it. I think by now they understand that the state has been in charge of the schools for 8 years and had the lack of controls in place that allowed this to go on. But there's no doubt that the 2 days of sick out couldn't have come at a worse time. And it's hard to explain to the legislators that the teachers in Detroit opted to take reduced pay for 22 pay cycles and get it the 26th. And when your employer says, I'm not sure you're going to get paid for what you're doing, you react one way. But the timing definitely hurt us. I think we had some momentum going in the House before that.
Let's talk about a couple other issues, too. The water shutoffs have resumed. I'm not sure what else the city can do. You've held these workshops, all kinds of efforts to try and at least help people create payment plans, and you still got 20,000 people who just don't seem to be responding.
Oh, they are responding. I think we're putting 4 to 6 people a minute on payment plans now.
4 to 6 a minute?
Something like that. I mean,
it's better than
it's been going very rapidly. We now have one of the most supportive assistance programs in America. If you make less than $18,000 a year, or a family of 4 36, we'll pay your first $25 for you. If you have an arrearage, we'll pay the arrearage for you, but you have to stick to the monthly payment plan. And that, I think, is a great program. And if you've got a high bill because of leaking pipes, we'll do $1,000 of repairs on the pipes in your house to get your bill down so that you're set for good. And so we have a large number of people who weren't paying their bill till they had to. Yeah. But we have not seen that much in the way of actual cutoffs. What we are seeing is a whole lot of people who are paying their bills.
Flint, though, has helped feed into this focus on water, and you still, I know your office still hears from people who now believe that water is a right, and your answer when somebody says that this is my right to have water.
Devin, if you sit with me in the large community meetings where there's 300, 400 people, I do probably one a week, the vast majority of the people in Detroit understand this, that the average family in Detroit today is paying about $100 to $150 a year to pay for those people who don't pay their bills. Yeah. And if we didn't do the shutoffs, Detroiters would be paying $300 a year. Detroiters don't mind paying for those who truly can't afford it, but they deeply mind paying for those who are taking advantage of the system. I think we found the right balance. The interesting thing is, and you tell me any community meeting, I ask who wants us to stop the water shutoffs, 80 to 85% of this city agrees with our policy. But you wouldn't know that the way the media portrays it, but it is an issue that never comes up in my day-to-day conversations in the city.
You've also had to spend a lot of time with the media defending what's happened with the increase in the cost of demolishing a lot of homes. Now you have the feds investigating, and I guess they're also focused on why the increase. But what are your thoughts about now this being investigated?
SIGTARP is doing exactly what they should be doing. They're coming in and making sure we spend every dollar correctly. And you got to appreciate, Devin, we're now, we just got awarded Friday, $42 million more by the state of Michigan, okay? They've got full confidence in what we're doing. But if you're going to spend what is now $160 million, you expect scrutiny. The state came in and did a review, gave us a clean bill of health, suggested we change some things, we implemented them immediately. The city OIG has been in. We're expecting that report in 2 weeks, whatever recommendations they make. We're also going to follow. And the feds are absolutely being welcomed in. We'll give them everything, and I'm sure it'll come out the same way. But, Devin, again, you're on old news. If you look at the last 6 months, our average demolition price is down around $12,000.
It's gone back down again. But the feds are on old news then, too, aren't they? I mean, they're investigating for something.
they have an obligation to look at these things. And so they've actually, you got it publicly, but they've been in since January. We've given them thousands of documents. And we've given all the same documents to the city investigators and all the same documents to the state investigators. And the reason why I'm really not concerned, the state of Michigan administers this program, and Michigan does an amazing job. You've got to give them 26 documents, including a picture of the completed work, before they'll release a check. And so the state has been very vigorous in their supervision, and I'm confident that SIGTARP will come to the same conclusion, but they're doing what they should be doing and will be fully cooperative.
I'm curious about your thoughts on the announcement that we had 2 weeks ago on bringing Major League Soccer and getting rid of this, I guess what some feel is a jail at the gateway to the city downtown. It's obviously, it's a county issue as far as the jail goes, but it's your city. What are your thoughts on it?
You know, we are going to get Major League Soccer in Detroit. I think the market is here. I think the league is very excited, and of course the ownership group couldn't be better. If the county hadn't already sunk $150 million into the ground on that Gratiot site, this would be a no-brainer. But the county executive Evans just has to decide, does this work or not? And I think he's right when he says the taxpayers shouldn't pay more to move the jail to bring in a soccer team than we would have paid otherwise. And so they'll look at the numbers, and if the numbers work out at the Gratiot site, fine. If not, I believe we have 2 or 3 other viable sites. And so Warren Evans is working on the Gratiot site. I'm working on alternatives.
So you're working on Plan B.
Although I don't.
Dan Gilbert and Tom Gores are.
Dan Gilbert isn't ready to talk about Plan B yet because I know how he is. He goes straight in the direction he wants to go, and I hope it works out. But if it doesn't, we'll be ready with alternatives.
Lastly, we've got a few seconds left. I've got the police chief coming in next to talk about crime. Your thoughts on crime right now, because he's clearly frustrated.
You know, Chief Craig and the police department are just doing an outstanding job, and we know what is happening. We've got a group of people in this city who settle their disputes by using gun violence. And you've got cities like New York and Boston that have gotten this under control. And we are this month expanding the ceasefire program, which has been phenomenal. The shootings on the east side are down 50%, where we do this, where Kim Worthy and Barb McQuaid and Chief Craig and I talk to the individuals who've been in gang violence personally. We got another one coming up in a week. We're moving that now to the west side. And so we're going to keep doing what we have to do to make progress. And of course, initiatives like Greenlight have been a big help.
Yeah, we're going to talk to him about that as well. Mayor, thank you very much for your time this morning. Great to have you here. And when we come back, we'll talk with Chief Craig about crime in Detroit. This is Flashpoint on Local 4. Well, this spring has seen a horrible run of violence in Detroit, a lot of it falling on young, innocent children, prompting Police Chief James Craig to say enough is enough. And the Chief is my guest this morning on Flashpoint. Chief, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Devin. Always a pleasure.
I got to be honest with you, though. I believe the last time you were here was the last time you said enough is enough.
I've been saying enough is enough from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you know, enough is enough. And if I have to continue to say it, I will. But it's at a point right now where we need to take this to the next level. And this is what this new approach is all about. And it's not a new approach. I've lived with this approach. We've done this in other cities very effectively. And so some might ask the question, well, Chief, why didn't you do that as soon as you arrived? Well, it was a different time.
The expectations, you've talked about this to me before, the expectations when you got here of the citizenry of their police department wasn't much.
Not at all. I mean, in fact, police officers wanted to be police officers again. The citizens wanted a police department. And so I had to quickly think, you know, very different, never had to deal with a situation like that. But what was clear to me, we needed to empower the police officers to do their job, which they've done and are doing now. Had to regain the trust and confidence of the community. That was gone. And so that is why early Operation Restore orders, you know, televisions in tow, made a big difference.
Yeah.
It signaled to the community that the police are back.
A lot of this violence that we've seen lately looks very random because people who are just sort of in the wrong place at the wrong time are ending up getting hit. I always tell people that most of this isn't as random as it looks, but it's not like these young guys running around with guns are spending any time on the gun range. It's all very, they're not marksmen, and sometimes they're using the gun for the first time when it really counts like this.
And it's easy for us to think that way. I would have thought that way until this most recent rash of shootings involving kids. When you plan target acquisition, you know who you're going after,
yeah.
And in the background you see children, and then witness accounts that support that the suspect, in one instance, may have leveled the weapon at the child. That's intentional. That's intentional.
As a kind of revenge killing.
Well, not sure what, but clearly we know no reverence for life. You talk about a child, a defenseless person, or like an elderly person. So the cowardly, violent, predatory suspect decides it doesn't matter.
Well, this is where we get, I think, to this strange thing. New Detroit, this group has put out what they call the code, that we have to accept that there's going to be a certain level of violence, and maybe we can get the gangs to play by the rules about this and say, look, no drive-by shootings, no shootings when there are children around, and your reaction to that has not been particularly favorable.
Not at all. I mean, what are we saying? It's almost like in Los Angeles, when Los Angeles adapted to a gang culture. And the dirty little secret, school districts were drawn behind where gang members resided, their territories.
Drawn the lines, right.
So, you know, I was in an area with 3 schools. There was a Crip school, a Blood school, and a Hispanic gang.
Totally giving in to the system, right.
We can't become that. And I oftentimes reference the motto of the state of Maine that says the way life should be. The way that life should be in Detroit is that we not make exceptions that don't shoot here, but we can shoot in another location. That is
accepting a level of crime, right?
And you know, and I get New Era made the statement. They said, well, you know, we're not in utopia. Well, there are no utopias anywhere in the country, but we're not going to say it's okay. It's okay to commit a robbery, but if you gotta, well, they said it's not okay. But if you must commit, just don't shoot the victim.
We've got clearly a level of hopelessness built into a lot of the people who are carrying out these acts. They don't see anything but a life of crime. How do we change that part? We
have to change it through empowering neighborhoods. And this is what is so clear about this next evolution of the kind of work. See, we sit up, as I talked about, you know, coming into neighborhoods and sending a message to the community that the police are the police, and we're here to keep you safe. Well, the true responsibility of crime prevention relies with the people.
You know, I've talked about it before. By the time the police get there, something bad has already happened.
We can't be there. I mean, look at San Bernardino. Within 3 minutes, how many people were murdered? Minutes. The first arriving scout car in San Bernardino got there within 4 minutes. And so we cannot be everywhere.
So how do we tilt that societal?
We take responsibility. And it sounds simple. We all know about Neighborhood Watch. And so you ask yourself, so how does Neighborhood Watch keep me safe? Look at any neighborhood. I don't care what city. Maybe your neighborhood. Maybe a neighborhood somewhere else in the state that's safe. People are involved, people are engaged, and there's a zero tolerance for certain behavior, and people know that. If you talk to someone,
but you've got some residents who I don't know that I can criticize them or condemn them for being fearful of the criminal elements in their neighborhood.
This is not condemning. Oh no, not condemning. What I'm saying is I understand your situation. You're in a neighborhood, say, where there's shootings nightly. You don't feel safe. You don't leave your home unless it's during certain hours. Okay, you've been co-opted. You've adapted to that culture. What I'm suggesting that we as police, we as stakeholders in the community join together en masse, and we take back the neighborhood, one neighborhood at a time. and it works.
One thing that I wanted to ask you about that it feels from my vantage point to be working is this new high-def camera system that you've got in some of the gas stations. We've already seen it pay dividends. It's expensive for a lot of these stations to get on board, though. How do we roll that out to many more places than it is right now?
Well, that's the goal. And certainly, again, going back to the neighborhood and putting it back in the neighborhood, these business owners who have decided, I want to be a good neighbor, I want to be part of the solution, which is key. And being part of the solution, I'm going to make the initial investment to purchase the cameras, to light the gas stations, to purchase, you know, an internet connection, so that the police, when necessary,
That's the other piece of it, right?
Well, at the end of the day, good investment. It pays for itself. There are so many that want it. I mean, there are neighborhoods that are asking for it. And so this thing is big. I mean, we have folks calling from all across this country wanting to know about the green light program.
Yeah, it's been extraordinary so far. Chief, there's not more vital work being done in the city right now than trying to make our neighborhoods safe. I appreciate you being here this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll continue with more. This is Flashpoint on Local 4. Welcome back. You've heard a lot of conversation about education and about neighborhoods now in Detroit. Let's talk about the intersection there with Defender Kevin Dietz, my colleague here at Local 4, who tomorrow at 5 o'clock begins a special report looking at the challenges of educating kids in the toughest neighborhoods of Detroit. And you've been spending a lot of time in Brightmoor.
We have. We've had our cameras in Brightmoor talking to parents and kids and teachers. And what we're finding is some amazing challenges. You're talking about kids just trying to get to school. They're hungry. They have to come past abandoned buildings to get to school. They don't have parents at home who can help them with homework. So a lot is resting on the teachers when they get to school to feed them and educate them, get them college ready.
They also have a daily worry about safety that maybe a lot of other kids don't have to worry about.
It's a constant fear for them. I mean, people in their classes are victims of crime on a regular basis.
So rather somewhat controversially, I think we'd have to say, Sharon McPhail runs the one high school that is really the option in Brightmoor, right?
Yeah, she runs a K through 12, but that's the only high school in Brightmoor. And it's controversial for a few reasons. She's hired some old names that we've seen before. Her chief financial officer was indicted in Texas. She says, I get to bring him in here, give him a second chance, and I got the best CFO I could ever get to come to a city.
Coleman, right?
Yeah, Bill Coleman, to come to a neighborhood like Brightmoor, where people don't want to work. Teachers don't want to come and work in that neighborhood. Administrators don't want to work in that neighborhood. She has a dean of students who was a judge in Inkster, Sylvia James. She was kicked off the bench in an investigation into a misappropriation of funds. She's now working over there at the dean of students. McPhail says it's the best hire she could ever get because she has a judge, lawyer, in there helping these kids make it down the right road.
And as you dug into what she's doing there, I think you believe she's kind of moving the needle a little bit.
You know, it's really interesting because when she got there, this was a failing school. That means bottom 5% of the entire state. Now, it's not a failing school, but it's still in the bottom 25%. And ACT standardized tests are abysmal. Two people, I think, in 10 years at that school have passed all 4 sections of the ACT.
Well, starting tomorrow at 5 o'clock and then as well on Tuesday and Wednesday, a fuller look at the challenges that exist in this unique situation that unfortunately is not that unique to some Detroit neighborhoods. I hope you'll join us for that. Kevin, thanks very much for being here.
You bet.
Thank you for being here as well. Meet the Press is coming up next. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week right back here for Flashpoint.